with you at the 2017 Silver and Gold Resource Conference, San Francisco, California. Haitham Houdeli on my right, Wheaton Precious Metals. And geez, we've been with you guys for a long time. Not as early as I'd like to, because David Smith that works with us was, you know, what was it, Chap something Mercantile?
Chap Mercantile.
Yeah, way back. David. But love the model, and you know, good things are coming. So for those that aren't familiar with Wheaton Precious Metals, why the name change, and give us like a summation of, say, the last year or so.
Sure. First of all, thank you for your support over the years. It has been appreciated. You know, we recently changed our name from Wheaton, from Silver Wheaton to Wheaton Precious Metals, not because of a lack of focus on any one commodity, but because the opportunities we saw over the last half a dozen years have been more gold focused than silver focused. So, you know, the majority of the new streams we brought on were gold. We've been trying to continue to acquire silver. We actually favor silver more in the near term. We think the fundamentals for silver are well positioned to take the commodity higher. But our revenue streams are almost 50-50 split. So we wanted to ensure that our investors understood that we're a precious metals company. That will continue to be our focus, and we're not going to sway from that.
Well, you've done a great job of acquiring assets worldwide. You're very diverse. You're in different geographical areas. You've stubbed your toe, my metaphor, not yours, you know, on a couple of things like the Alexco and that kind of thing. And I think you've been very business-like in some situations like that where you've had to alter things. Right. Do you want to speak to that generally?
Sure. So when you're investing in the mining business, mining assets are maturing assets. And as assets mature, grades change, commodity prices affect the different cutoffs, et cetera. So you always have to be flexible. What we're focused on is ensuring that our partners are profitable. So if and when the time comes that our partners, our stream needs to be restructured with our partners, we're happy to do so. We won't do so to the point where it's a detriment to our shareholders, but we'll come up with a win-win transaction for both parties that allows them to actually operate in the environment they're in. It allows us to recoup some of that in higher commodity price environments.
I love the approach. You know, you're not hiding from it. You dress it in a way, and you know, not that I'm anything to do with the company, although I've promoted it for a lot of years. But the point being that, look, it's not working here. We're going to make it work as long as, you know, it doesn't cut our shareholders out of the pattern, so to speak. Yeah, so that's great. Where do you envision this whole precious metals complex going over, let's say, the next 5 years as a company?
You know, we're pretty optimistic. What we've seen in terms of not just supply-demand fundamentals, but gold and silver as safe haven assets. I know we've had a lot of cryptocurrency discussions and a lot of interest in the cryptocurrency sector. That sector, even if it continues to grow at the rate it's actually growing over the next 5 years, it'll still only be a fraction of the percentage of where the gold industry and silver industry are these days. So we're comfortable with looking at silver and gold as fundamental safe haven assets in times of political and economic turmoil. And fundamentally, from a supply-demand perspective, we're not seeing significant new opportunities for discoveries. So everything we're seeing in the last little while has been companies acquiring assets for the pure purpose of expanding the reserves and resources, because you're not finding those. So we have a supply shortfall coming here in the near term. I think that'll result in much higher silver and gold prices.
No, it's very tight on the gold side. In my study view, not as much on the silver side, but as you know, I mean, there's no such thing as a pure silver mine anywhere in the world.
True.
And the asset silver is such a requirement in a high-tech society.
Yeah.
And so as the globe becomes more and more westernized, there's more silver per capita.
Definitely.
I mean, who was a farmer yesterday is now holding an iPhone, right? So that's a little bit of silver, but you multiply that in China times 1.2 billion people, exactly. That adds up. So anyway, back to you. You know, coming back to the name change, I mean, you were Silver Wheaton for a while. What was kind of the mandate there? And you explained what you did. I don't want to have to repeat yourself, but I mean, there was kind of a strong focus on silver. Now you see the opportunities in gold. You've taken advantage of those. But I guess I'm re-asking the same question, but how silver-centric were you at that time?
Sure. So the reason that streaming actually works is we actually take a byproduct that's within a base metal company, and we actually basically share some of the re-rating potential of that with the counterparty. So it make it a win-win transaction for both companies. Silver itself was one of the most prominent byproducts available with any base metal assets. Gold, not so much, and gold ends up being considered more core than silver at that point in time. So we focused on looking at these byproduct opportunities and capitalizing on the ability for Wheaton to raise money and share some of that capital with our counterparties in order to be able to come up with a transaction that makes sense.
It's easy to say, oh, me too, and it is true, and believe it or not, audience, but I actually had the thought about it, but you took the action. And the reason was, like, if you look at somebody like RTZ or Broken Hill, BHP, and I did this study, and you look at the bottom line, and they mine a lot of silver,
right,
but they mine a lot of base metals.
Yeah.
So if you took silver at a price of like $100 an ounce, for example, it affects your bottom line minimally. So that's why it was so smart to come in and say, hey, you're a lead zinc miner, or a copper silver miner, or a lead zinc silver miner. We'll take that little bit of silver from you, a little bit relative to what their other mining revenues are, and here's the deal we'll make. And I think it was just really brilliant. Like I said, I had thought about it, and then bang. But having a great idea is nothing unless it's implemented. So you did it, and there's been a lot of tag-ons. I mean, we have a very small royalty company. Lemuria Royalties, I don't make this too much about me, but we just saw there was a niche for small companies that really had their act together, that needed capital to progress the company, and we took advantage of it. And of course, there were more than us that did it, but it's really like the business model. So where do you think shareholders are now? I mean, I want to bring up this legal thing because from my perspective, and I own it, so I'm talking my book, I think it's extremely undervalued. I spent a great deal of time at New Orleans with two of the principals of the company and studied that were at the top level. Both were extremely, straightforward and knowledgeable about all that's going on in this legal thing. So my takeaway is that one, there's many other companies that are in a situation that have a tax structure similar to yours. Secondly, that my feeling before the meeting and stronger after the meeting was that basically everything legally is in your favor. And I think the stock is being overly punished, and I know you guys can't say too much about the stock price, or maybe you can, but where is this legally in your view? I came out of there feeling really good. I think it's going to get resolved. I think it's going to be resolved favorably, but no one knows. And even taking the worst case, if it's resolved unfavorably, the stock is still undervalued relative to that scenario. So I'd like your comments.
Sure. So I mean, it's a very complicated situation with the Canadian tax authorities. But the way we look at it, and we look at where we were as a company prior to the whole CRA announcement, and they basically announced that they were auditing 2005 to 2010. They announced that in 2012, and they came out and actually gave us the audit in 2015. What we see as happening to our share price over the last, since 2012, is we've lost almost potentially as much as $8 billion in value because of this whole audit. And this is something we have in our presentation, so I'm not speaking out of context here. We think there's potential for a significant re-rating, considering we're only a $9 billion US company roughly right now. There's a lot of potential upside. We generate right now better earnings, and almost, if you take our two largest competitors, we generate almost as much earnings as both of them combined. Yeah. On a cash flow basis, we generate more than the largest cash flow, and on a price to NAV, we're trading a significant discount. So we're discounted on every single valuation metric, and we understand why, and we understand the concerns that are out there, but we're fairly confident that we're going to be successful in our endeavors going forward.
I'd like to just address, because having this meeting was very enlightening. I mean, I had a kind of a base level understanding, but when you get to ask the directors, direct question, excuse the double pun, I mean, it's very meaningful. And, there's banks involved with the same tax structure. I mean, isn't Revenue Canada kind of shooting themselves in the foot? I mean, can't they see the bigger picture? That if you guys become, excuse the terminology, poster boy or whatever for offshore entities that are structured this way, aren't they taking down a whole huge amount of industries?
So how we view it is we're fighting the fight, not just for Wheaton Precious Metals. We're fighting the fight for every single company that has 100% owned foreign subsidiary which enters into transactions outside of Canada. And
that's banks and oil and gas.
That's right. That's right.
Others,
every mining company, diversified base metal producer, oil and gas producers, the banks that you mentioned, It's unlimited, the number of industries that actually adopt this model, because you're allowed to do it under Canadian tax law.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, let's turn this around and go back on the positive side of the equation. So you're in the right metals, and you've got a great management team, and you're got a backbone, obviously, and I admire that with anybody. So where do you see the company going over the next 5 years? Do you guys see the same amount of growth? You see a little lower growth, tapering off? What's your longer term?
Sure. So my role, I'm the Senior Vice President of Corporate Development. So my job is to find that growth, facilitate it, close the transactions, et cetera. What we see right now, if I did absolutely nothing, and trust me, if I did nothing, I wouldn't have a job for very long.
Right.
But if I did absolutely nothing, the development projects we have in the pipeline alone have the potential to increase our current production profile by over 40%. And that's doing absolutely nothing. I can tell you right now, we're sourcing different transactions right now. Even though it's a very difficult environment, we're seeing more opportunities than before. They are usually smaller opportunities in this environment, so call it, $100 to $300 to $400 million opportunities. That's probably the majority. There's maybe, I'd say that's probably 60% of those. There's probably 30% that fall into the 400 to 700 million range. And there's always the $1 billion opportunities, but those take time. And so you're constantly working through those and trying to get to the stage. And it requires the right market conditions. So, we're going to continue to grow this company. We're not looking to do 20, 30 opportunities a year. We're looking to do, call it 2 to 3 high quality opportunities that add to our existing portfolio.
Fantastic. Well, I'm got a fair amount of shares, as does my
Pleasure, Dave.
family. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello, I'm David Morgan, publisher of The Morgan Report, and as some of you may already know, The Morgan Report is about money, metals, and mining. In fact, we cover all resources, from rare earth elements to precious metals. I've been publishing on the internet for about 20 years. My primary passion is to help people build and preserve their wealth. I love to make people millionaires. I've helped thousands of people via our research in The Morgan Report, which has thousands of paid members and 10 times that amount on our free weekly updates. Here's what you'll receive from our free newsletter: to-the-point webinars, weekly analysis of the financial markets, interviews and our conference schedule, special reports such as riches and resources, and various metals price forecasts. Our paid service client base is primarily small to medium-sized business owners, professionals in the industry, or the seasoned investor who understands markets and the value of precious metals. My area of expertise includes equity analysis throughout the resource sector, energy metals, base metals. We cover startups to billion-dollar corporations. We focus on a special sector that makes money regardless of price oscillations, and the importance of precious metals due to the ongoing currency devaluations. Our team of 3 analysts and support staff can help you build and protect your wealth. It's important for you to know what other people have said. We're passionate about what we do. High integrity and trust. Tell the truth and own it. If we're wrong, we admit it. Take a long-term outlook with major assets, and bet a little to win a lot with speculative situations. If you choose to become a client, you will gain financial insights very few, even professionals, recognize. You'll understand the importance of honesty in our financial system. You'll understand how the money system influences almost everything in your life. You'll be prepared for the ongoing currency crisis. And finally, I've chosen to make my life's mission greater than the individual, which means my mission statement is to teach and empower people to understand the benefits of an honest monetary and financial system. It's been a great journey so far, and the best gains in this sector lie ahead over the next 3 to 5 years. I'm fortunate to have earned the status of being a leading authority in my field in helping others protect their wealth. You can email me at support@themorganreport.com or call my office at 480-325-0230.